And so how do we do this? We also had a real connection around family and financial security. And the conversation was so interesting and so intriguing that I asked her if she wouldn't mind coming on the podcast, because it is so essential to our practice. So welcome, Homa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you.
So I'm always thrilled to have speakers that are independent females. You are considered in my book leading the way for all women and leading the way within your own personal business venture. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and about your personal journey and your career endeavors, as well as what you are currently doing professionally, so that the listeners have a good understanding of where you started and how you were led into your business venture that you're in currently?
Thank you so much, Jenny. I'm so happy to be here today with you. I wish I could tell you that I'm a big shot in the industry or have written many books or have lectured a lot, but I'm just a normal person bringing my knowledge and experience here. But I do have a relevant history. A few years back, I was diagnosed with herniated disc myself, which is something a lot of people have. Thankfully, I didn't have to go through any surgery, but because of that, I had to take time off work and go on disability. And while off on disability, I was also diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and my disability leave was extended to over 15 months, actually. And this was what got me started in the current role that I am today. Because back then, I was fortunate enough to have disability income through work. And now it's unthinkable for me to even imagine what would have happened if I didn't have income for over 15 months. It became obvious to me that supplemental health coverage is super important. And that's why I started my journey here. I have a lot to add, and I will fill the gaps as we go through this conversation.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so I think a lot of us come to that point where it touches us. Something in some way touches us personally, whether it's an extended family member or what have you, or it's us personally. And that's when we think about it. And it's only going through that personal experience that you realize that having foresight or forethought maybe is a good idea. So the interesting thing that we kind of touched on when you and I met was that part of the program you offer that is like accidental insurance. So that I was a little bit confused by it. I got it. It makes sense, accident, but instinctively, would I need that? Can we kind of quickly look at what if I was injured? How would I pay the bills? And can you explain how your program works or the program that you're familiar with, or a program, an accident insurance program would work, and who would consider it? What are the key elements of that program? Because I found it very fascinating. I'd never really chunked it up, and I really was I was very interested, so I figure our podcast listeners are also very interested.
I remember the conversation that we had, and imagine as a nurse, if you were to break your arm and you couldn't inject for 8 weeks, what would have happened to your life? And accident coverage is actually becoming quite popular because some occupations are more prone to accidents than others, and generally when they happen to those body parts that we use the most for our businesses, like our hands and feet. And exactly because of that, unfortunately, we will lose our ability to work. But Janine, I want to take it beyond accident. Accident is part of it, and it is important, but there is the term called living benefits, and these are not just accident coverages, but they're what you purchase through private companies on top of your provincial plan. Whether it be sickness or accident. Of course, accidents don't discriminate. It could happen to anyone, but neither does illnesses. The living benefits that any individual could benefit from actually pays cash directly to you. So you can spend it on whatever you need to, whether it be related to your sickness or injury or towards your mortgage. Now, everyone has their own unique needs. Truth of the matter is, most people are not well prepared for the unexpected. Accident is one of them. Many of us, thankfully, are healthy enough to be able to work and earn a living, and all of us are working to accumulate enough assets to be able to retire someday and be able to actually enjoy life without having to work. Some like to travel, golf, or grow a beautiful garden, or tend to anything that you're passionate about. Unfortunately, a lot of times this plan doesn't work as we planned because it is interrupted by a major accident or an illness that forces us to stop working. Let's say you break an arm and couldn't inject for 8 weeks, as we discussed. Or like me, something as common as herniated disc that keeps you at home for a number of months. For sure, your existing health coverage takes care of receiving the treatment part, but how are you going to pay your bills during that 8 weeks or 10 months? Are you okay to eat through your savings that you worked so hard for? Or maybe you have to sell assets or remortgage the house or borrow so you can go through the challenging times. Everyone finds their own solution through this distress, but wouldn't it make better sense if you set a small monthly amount aside so you can receive cash when anything of that nature happens? Of course it does, but a lot of people are not prepared for it. Unfortunately, accidents and illnesses are not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.